I'll be right there. No one saw that. Alright then. Hello everyone. Good day and good evening and welcome back to Roulette Live with me, Chaiji, but you can just call me Kai. I of course was totally prepared and didn't forget to get my tea and actually set up so that the light was correct and everything. And then remember 30 seconds before we're going live. That totally didn't happen, and I totally didn't have a manuscript for a future video on screen when I switched to show it. Totally not. Let me actually just move that. Right. So, I was thinking for tonight's set that I was just going to play tanks. It's been a while since I've done something like that. So we're just going to do tanks, mental roulette, all the way. Why tanks? Well, I could also do DPS or healer, but I actually specifically got all the gear that I need for tanks, with the exception that I need some of the relics, but I do have like full armor and accessories for my tanks, so that could be fun. And then, are you ready for an entire set of not a single level 100 duty, so it doesn't matter? Tenacity gear, nope. But I do have some tenacity. With that said, hey Fopoof, hey Telemar, hey Rost, hey Saros, hey Matthew, hey Zarf, hey Kat, hey Lizdalia, hey Agent Monica, hey Tabi, hey Tina Lee, hey Ray, hey Lana, hey Gassel, and hey Necrophits. Hope you're all doing very well. But that is the plan, I think. Low-level dungeon roulette time. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm expecting too. Right. Let's actually, now that I'm going to go tank anyway, let's be prepared. Let's actually get ready for this. Potion get. Right. And let's start with Paladin. I will queue when it says 20. You're continuing your speed run. Oh boy, so if I see a conjurer, it's you. Hey Swayze, hope you're doing well. I'm about like halfway. Ilana's here! What a start. Uh-oh. We take those. Okay, that seemed a little bit sudden. Amy is energy. Hope you're doing well. Hey, Rathalos, are you gonna go to the center in a moment? I feel like you're supposed to go to the center in a moment. Yes? No? Maybe? You sure taking your time. There you go. Fantastic. Hey Cabal, hope you're doing well. Hey Rillian, hope you're doing well as well. Nom. My combo ran out. Don't you love it when your combo runs out the exact frame where you're about to do the action? You don't have to do that. Yeah, that one's great too, Cat. Mid-cast, so it just goes, oh, well, you can't use... And it's even better on Pictomans when, like, you can't cast something else, but it'll still cancel you if you lose the combo mid-cast. Oh boy. Why? Why? That's going to get you killed, yeah. I think the bot isn't aware that they have the potion. So what happened in the chat was, so Ilana was trying to take the stacks alone, but because people were chasing, it becomes a little bit complicated with the numbers, and it can also be a little distracting, so you forget to potion when you have to. And when Ilana died, the Dragoon Mentor, by the way, with a legend title, by the way, was like, stop running. And then both me and Ilana's like, don't help. Because you can take those alone. Like, you can straight up take those alone. You don't even need any cooldowns. If you're just like item level synced, you can just take them and you'll be fine. You have to, you know, potion it up after, and you need the healer to like Isuna you, but Ilana is the healer. So they'll just do that. Just Isuna potion, Isuna potion, Isuna potion. But if you help, it gets confusing. And it turns out, based on what we could see there, I don't know what the Dragoon felt, but the Bard definitely hadn't done their homework. Let's see. I'll say a weird cat and Meta Boy and Lollipop Pizza. Hope you're doing well. That's why I can't believe I managed to do 1,000 mental roulettes in one stream. That would have been amazing. It was just 27. I'll say you, Silver. Hope you're doing well. And same to you, Milo. Silver says, reminds me of when I was learning this fight and was told I was crazy for wanting to try to take the stag alone. It's pretty funny because over the years, I've seen more and more, like, a gradual increase in the percentage of players that will do this thing where they think they know better when they don't. It's really hard to explain, but you might be able to get what I mean when I say, like, people that act like they know when they don't. I think essentially what it boils down to is a lot of players that have played for long enough that they're like, I should know what I'm talking about. Even though they don't. Or they don't realize that there's nuance to this stuff. Similarly, I also see more and more players that can't fathom the concept that some players don't actually know. Like, a really funny one is that a lot of genuine people think that the only possible explanation as to why a healer would not be attacking is because they're a lazy, slacking jerk. Meanwhile, while it has become more commonplace to see it happen that other MMOs will see the healer attack a little bit too, Final Fantasy XIV is like the one where healers will forego healing in the pursuit of attacking more, which means that we're the weirdos when it really comes to it. Swayze says, I remember when this fight was released, and at currently I don't think I was able to take a smack to the face, but maybe I'm wrong. Like this stack, yeah, this stack. It's possible that wasn't possible at release, Swayze, but real quick here, just really quickly here. You may need to sit down. This fight is 7 years old. Things changed. Like, a lot of things changed. Including a whole stat squish. So, it used to work this way. Often doesn't work. I'll say, Vims, hope you're doing well. And it is very likely that part of the reason why there's a lot of players that are like, I know what I'm talking about, when what they actually know is like dated information, is exactly because of that. But that's essentially what it comes down to, is that this is a 7-year-old fight. Balance changes, stat changes, new jobs, changes to jobs. Like, there's quite a lot. I don't know if you could take it back then, but I can also say that I believe Mr. Happy demonstrated that a machinist could solo Rathalos Extreme, unsynced of course, in Shadowbringers, like early mid Shadowbringers if I recall correctly. So, largely speaking, the fight isn't that intense on damage. And yeah, exactly, Cat. A lot of the time, the reason why you'll find healers that are not attacking is because they came from an MMO where that's normal. And in fact, in those MMOs, it was usually so normal, hey Sally, hope you're doing well, so normal that if you were to start attacking, people would start being like, what are you doing? Don't do that. And if you keep going, they might be like, idiot. Like in the same way that people are like, don't put a single target Doton down. And then when the ninja keeps doing it, you're just like, idiot. And then when things go wrong and you wipe or someone dies, it doesn't even matter whether the reason they died was because they stood in the bed or it was actually because you were distracted attacking so you didn't heal. It's your fault now. You were definitely distracted by your attacking. That's the reason. That's the reason. Even though that wasn't the reason. And the easiest way to dodge that is just don't attack. Easy. And then you come to Final Fantasy XIV, and then people are like, why are you not attacking? And you're like, how? You can't win. You can never be right out the gate. Jose Michaela, hope you're doing well. I will queue when it says 55. And yeah, when I'm just saying, when I got into like classic WoW, I was like, Kraken Mo, hope you're doing well. When I got into classic WoW, after playing Final Fantasy XIV a bunch, if I was playing a healer, I was like, yeah, I mean, I might not have MP to spare to like attack with a spell, but I can go into melee range and like whack them with my weapon. That does damage. If I have a wand, I can use that. That does damage. Oh boy. And Ilana's here too. Hey Ilya, hope you're doing well. Hey Bob, hope you're doing well. I just realized the names are there. Whoops. Yeah, basically, this whole fight, the way I describe it is, if, like, you can do everything perfectly, but you need, like, this is the test. The test is when you hit the last set of nails. Everything else is just warm-up. Oh, that's a brave dragoon right there. Hey Nito, hope you're doing well. Uh-oh. Everyone's still alive. That's pretty good. Ah! Please, for all that is holy, pay attention when I use the provoke. Oh man, this is going to be bad. And both healers are resing the same person. Did we actually make that? We did! Easy game. Oh man. Woo. And a mount drop. Wow. Fantastic. Metaboy says, I saw someone requesting that the fight should not be unsynced. Oh, Kat, I actually have an example of that. When they did the first stat squish, they forgot to fix an optional boss in the water dungeon of Cataclysm. The weird shaman guy. He did a ludicrous amount of damage because they just completely forgot about him. I know, because, like, around those days, I was leveling with a friend. We were just, like, two-manning dungeons. And that boss we had to skip. Say Nori, and Mandalori, and Philip. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, that is true, Philip. Most of the time, that's what happens. The reason why I was still surprised is that usually when the party like gets so close to wiping that we saw there, the party gets so focused on just trying to like recover or like get back on their feet that suddenly it's just ding ding, time's up, and then you die because you didn't make it. Let me put it like this. Ifrit Extreme can be synced by 3 players. 2 tanks and 1 healer can do that whole nail check. So what usually happens is that when your party like goes this far sideways, it's just that everyone gets so focused on just trying to survive that they end up doing no progress on the nails. And yeah, in the case of that, Nori, it's basically like you're doing the mechanic wrong, but people can actually skip that. Apparently it's survivable with a tank involved, or sorry, a tank LB. Right, I will queue when it says 35 again. That was scary. But first pull Ifrit Extreme with a minimal tactics discussion is pretty good. Oh boy! Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Are you ready? Hey Popular Monster, hope you're doing well. It's been a bit. Are you ready? Da-da-da-da. And Gazel is here! Woohoo! It's actually Mental Roulette community invasion. Time Gate Extreme. Yep. Yep. Oh, Gazel is disconnecting, it looks like. It's going to be close. Because someone is still damaging. Oh! There's a chance. We did it! Hey Alexis, hope you're doing well. Yeah, I mean, I'll put it like this, Alexis. The most important thing in doing the mental roulette is try to have fun with it. Because if you're not enjoying it, then it's like the 2000 are not going to happen, I don't think. Or you're going to hate yourself before you finish it. So, I don't think you should go into it expecting to get like the rewards. Just go into it and be like, oh, that's pretty good. And then eventually be like, oh, that was 100. Say Coaster, hope you're doing well. I will queue when it says 30. And my advice there, Alexis, is that you don't have to know all of the extremes before getting in. You don't have to. Just focus on, like, if you land in an extreme you don't know, then just focus on being willing to learn. See if someone else can explain it. If they can, fantastic. If they can't, well, that's your cue to look it up and figure it out. And then help the team. Because if no one can explain it to you, then it also means that no one else has the answer. So you might as well look it up. There's also the part that there's like 38 extremes that technically can appear in Mental Roulette, but out of those 38, it's like 8 of them, maybe 7, that you will realistically see. So don't worry about it. You can learn those that you actually meet. Also, yes, 0 for... well, I mean... Do Guildhests count, Matthew? And even still, Philip, I would still say that the best thing you can do is... you can just learn them when they come up. You can just learn them when they happen to come up. And that will also better teach you what things matter. In my opinion. But yeah, if you do feel like you really want to look up the duties before you queue, then the Realm Reborn extremes are the ones that are most likely to happen ever. Oh. And all I could say was, oh. I might, Nilo. Not 100% sure, but I might. Also, it's Thorax the Explorer time. Can you see why the pull took so long? Yeah, nice, fellas. Thanks. Oh boy, oh boy. Not seeing Death Design at all? Nope. How about, like a dot? Like a single dot? From someone? Or how about the sheer magnitude of amount of times you hear the sound of a Euphrasia diagnosis? Hey Ryan, hope you're doing well. Yeah, exactly, Matthew. What the Sage doing? Hey, Leon. Hope you're doing well. My best guess on that one, Necrophits, is that in the past, it was Dark Knights. It was often Dark Knights that had that. So I'm guessing it might be Edgelords, not realizing what they're signing up to. see. I believe it would be here we want to be. Yeah, that felt like a normal pace to me. Somewhat normal, maybe slightly slow. Oh, there's the creation Discrasia. There is one. But yeah, the classic, it has always been Dark Knights that clearly have no idea what mitigation means. Like, what? What do you mean I'm a tank? I'm the guy with a big sword. I use evil magic. I do too, Philip. The thing I want to point out is that the thing that I was thinking about was a lot more the fact that the healer was spamming shields. That was what I was noticing, and then I was like, wait a minute, they also don't have their AoE dot. I also forget the AoE dot all the time as Sage. I hope it goes better though, Mandalorian. Hey, Young Dun. Hope you're doing well. but I am the spam shield. The funny thing is, I usually, these days, I don't really notice unless, like, the group at large is everyone is doing something a little lacking everywhere. So, like, the poll at large starts to go clearly slow. That's when I notice. Otherwise, I don't really worry about it. Was there a death design? Was that debuff? They had a one. Fantastic. Very nice. Yeah, big emphasis on was. They used it as a damage cooldown. It's back! Guys, we have it again! There's Death's Design. We have it. Death's Design get. Oh, no one got hit by that. Fantastic. That's pretty good. Hey, Yannick. Hope you're doing well. All right, ranged mobs. It is possible it's some first-timers. Hey, Ritsu. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, that too. They like the Reaper isn't really well acquainted with Death's Design. And also, maybe I'm not paying attention, but I feel like I don't see the Sage use Keracholi at all. This is just me. The Ricky Geek has inspired slow start Reaper. Wow. Alright. The singular ranged mob. At least I managed to move the pack before the slipstream came down. Well, I mean, Alexis, clearly not secretly. And it's all in good fun. It's just like, it's clear observations where it's like, that's weird, why are they doing that? If I actually wanted to be mean, I could have been like a lot harsher at least. And secret roasting is a lot more fun when we don't have names. That's also the important bit. The person who is getting roasted, quote unquote roasted, can also just quietly step aside, like step away. They would need to like step forward and be like, yeah, that was me, or to hit them. Otherwise, they're just, you know, a stranger. And yeah, the key point is that we're looking for things that you can improve on. It just so happens that when it's particularly obvious, it feels like a little harsh, maybe.
of Eld. Break out the fury.
Chronicles of Eld. Uh-oh. Someone's gonna die. Hey, Travis. Hope you're doing well. And that is also something worth pointing out, Travis, that some people appreciate just getting the input. Being like, oh, I am making that mistake now that you mention it. That's a good point. It's nothing bad. It doesn't hurt.
I will take the measure of your resolve.
Hey, Red Master. Hope you're doing well.
Implacable strength of the mountain, be mine!
Orbs! Look at the orbs! Such orbiting! Yoink.
Spirit of my brethren, your thunder roars! That you should endure my fury.
My fury.
Chronicles of Eld, record the cruelty of merciless storms.
Oh. Man down! Hey Ham, hope you're doing well. Boink. Yeah, that's a good point, Philip. That sometimes people just need a chance to get started. And sometimes it's because they don't remember the mechanics. So like, once they've like seen the mechanics loop, they're like, okay, I know how to do this, and then they get through it. It's also pretty funny sometimes when you wipe on a fight and then the run back, there's no problems. Like, none. Hey Senshu, hope you're doing well. And yeah, that is very likely that the problem is that, because as I wasn't paying too close attention, but a specific thing I noticed was I don't think they used Karakoli on AoE packs. And that and Panheimer are like, those are the kind of cooldowns that in a dungeon context, me on Sage, I'll pretty much just, like, I'll mostly use those for packs. I'll say, Erikson, hope you're doing well. And yeah, also that, Ericsson. Like, the key thing is also that usually when I'm pointing out mistakes, it's like, I'm not being like... If I'm doing something like, the tank isn't sprinting smartly enough, it's usually because I've, like, gone down the list and been like, well, they're using mitigation well. The only way we could possibly go faster is if they sprinted better. Like, if you see me nitpicking in my mental roulette videos and such, it's usually because the person's really good. Like... I mean, they're doing really well, but there's this weird thing they're not doing. And I'm glad to hear that, Alexis. Thank you. They're a great tank player, but I need to say something bad about this person's mentor. Not even that, Raging Bull. Not even that. It's more like, if I'm like, this person is playing really well, then if I don't say it, then there's probably going to be someone in the comments being like, but that, like, the person wasn't sprinting at all. So it's better that I just say it. Yeah, but they weren't sprinting. There's also the part that if someone was not sprinting at all, I would probably be like they're not using their toolkit. Also, if you are enjoying the stream, it does help me a lot if you leave a like on it here on YouTube. You know, tell the algorithm this is an enjoyable stream like other people's enjoy it as well. So thank you so much in advance. Let's go on to Warrior. I will queue when it says 25. But yeah, genuinely, something like the sprinting thing is usually because a lot of players don't even realize that sprint in a dungeon context especially is actually defensive mitigation. Like, one of the weirdest takes that I run into frequently actually is the why are people always in such a hurry? Why do they have to sprint and all that? Why can't we just take it slow? And it's like, yeah, well, if you casually jog to pull all that, then the tank is going to take way more damage. There's also something like, I don't sprint because I don't want the healer to fall behind. The reason why you're scared of the healer falling behind is because you're jogging. If you sprinted, then you wouldn't need that extra HP from the healing. You'd be fine. But I see that one quite frequently. I'll queue when it says 55. Hey, Grim Raven, hope you're doing well. I have issues when to sprint. I think I go over this in both my tank tips and healer tips. If your sprint is available, sprint like at the latest, half a second before you enter combat. And you're like, I'm about to pull this thing, I'm just gonna sprint. And then you get 20 seconds of sprint instead of 10. If sprint isn't available in time, then there's nothing... Like, then you can just sprint when it is available if it happens to come up during the pull. But that's it, really. If you're the healer, what you do instead is you sprint when you see the tank sprint. And if they don't sprint before entering combat, then you do. Again, about half a second before you're supposed to enter combat. I have potions. This will be fine. I'll stop before we reach the boss room. Ah, whoops. Hey man, join the club. Join the party. Oh boy. This Dragoon is gonna hate me. It's defensively optimal. Trust me. Trust the process. I know what I'm doing. Hey, Malediction! Hope you're doing well. It's really effective in low-level dungeons, actually. It's just to run around like that. Yeah, basically, Grim Raven, that would be my advice, is sprint before you enter combat. Then, if sprint isn't available, you can use it if sprint happens to come up during the pulling phase itself. And that's it, really. But I'll say, from my perspective, I like if you're like playing perfectly, and the only thing is that you aren't sprinting perfectly, then I might be like, you could move slightly better if you sprinted like this instead. But I would make I would be like a lot more concerned if you were not sprinting. Like if you're at least sprinting, then we're good. It's fine. There's this zone interpretorium, computer crashes. Well, and that's true, Bob. Like it depends a little bit on what tank you got, but overall, yeah, the tank in a high level dungeon especially don't need that much help. The only reason why I need help here to stay alive is mostly because I'm pulling like a maniac. Like, I'm basically going into this dungeon going, well, the healer doesn't have any AoE. I do. We can turn their single target damage into more AoE damage by me pulling more. And then they just heal me. And, like, we can share in this AoE value, and it's good enough. It's fine. The Dragoon is also there. I mean, the Dragoon doesn't have any AoE. The Thaumaturge, on the other hand. I think we're just gonna stop here on this split where there are two mages. I feel like it'll get a little too scary for this Sprout if we pull more. Popular Monster says, I was doing a dungeon when you were talking about it, but what about when you do sprint as a tank and no one else does, and then everyone else yells at you for sprinting? Look, let me put it like this, Popular Monster. Sometimes you will find yourself in a party of lunatics. Sometimes you'll, like, counter question. Imagine that you're a healer and you're attacking, and then people start making a big deal about it and be like, no, you shouldn't be attacking, you're a healer. Does that mean that you're supposed to just not attack? Because these people said no? You get what I mean? And what you can do in that specific context is you can just be like, just howl with the wolves, right? Howl with the pack that you happen to be in, and just be like, okay, I'll not sprint then, your problem. Like, you asked for this. Look how I'm taking more damage now. Isn't that weird? and then just leave it. That is one way to deal with it. But the idea there is, if you run into a group that is like, no, you shouldn't sprint, then they're in the wrong. And the best you can do about it is either fit in or just keep doing what you're doing anyway, and then see, maybe they'll be like, oh, actually it's going really well, even though they're completely ignoring our demands to stop sprinting. I'll say, Islet, hope you're doing well. Sometimes you just want a chill dungeon. Islet, I reiterate that it doesn't have anything to do with that. And you might have to, like, to get the full story, you might have to rewind, like, 10 minutes. Sprint reduces the damage you're taking while rounding up mobs. Because you're kiting them. So you actually get a more chill dungeon by sprinting. Even if you're not pulling as much. I'll say Nini Lily, hope you're doing well. But that's actually the funny thing, is that this whole conversation started with, sometimes there will be players that are like, no, don't, why is it everyone is in such a hurry? Why do you have to sprint all the time? And it's like, it's actually not about being in a hurry. It's actually because it's defensively optimal to pull fast. I'm glad to hear that, Nini Lily. Thank you so much. What if you can foresee that the sprint could last for the entire pull, even a bit before the pull? Then you sprint sooner. Like, actually, if you know that you'll reach your destination early, then sprinting sooner means the cooldown will be up sooner, which means you can sprint sooner in the next pull. Sometimes you might see me do that. And I'll sprint like weirdly early, and sometimes I'll sprint even earlier, because the way I'll do it is I'll be like, well, I'll lose, like, I'll have to, like, jog the last 5-6 seconds, maybe. But if I don't do this, then I won't, like, if I specifically do this, then I'll have sprint in full for the next pull. There's even an argument to be made due to the existence of the literal jog buff when sprint ends, that if you don't have a ranged physical in your group, if you can somehow line it up so that you're sprinting and then jogging a bit, it's fine that you're, you know, not sprinting during the polling, but it depends on the duty, right? It depends on the duty. Some duties that's fine, other duties like it's gonna really hurt, so you probably don't want to do that. Right, I'll queue when it says 48. And yet that is something you can also do, Mandalorian, is if as the tank, if you see someone else sprint, you can sometimes fix the party at large by sprinting too. As in, I was like, Brontom, hope you're doing well. Because, like, I basically explained this earlier, right? That I said, if the tank sprints, you sprint as the healer. And to some degree, you also do that as a DPS. So if you see a DPS or the healer sprint early, you, the tank, can make the rest of the party, if they know what they're doing, sprint too by sprinting early. So, like, you, the tank, can fix the problem when it happens to come up. I should have used the defensive earlier there. Also, Ilanas, here's the healer again. Hey, Jacob. Hope you're doing well. Do you have any plans in case you get invited to media events in the future? I don't know. Like what kind of events are you thinking? But this is an awkward time to be stunned. They usually invite players to try expansion builds. Based on the way my channel is going, it would not surprise me if I don't get invited. Just in general.
I will crush you underfoot. Savages.
But if I were invited, then it, like, again, it depends on what options you have when you're there, right?
Enough.
Just don't throw Whisk out of it when you're not. Oh, I didn't. I saw that, like the last time that Cider Spider was invited, I think Renan was also invited. I was like, oh. Oh well. And that was that.
Enough.
Hey Liv, hope you're doing well.
Can you withstand this?
But overall, I don't really mind. Last time, with all the Dawntrail stuff,
In the name of the Emperor.
I was like, if I were invited, I don't know how I would, like, I might actually be like,
In the name of
I
the
would probably have
Emperor.
been like, oh, that's awesome. And then I would also have been like, how will I fit this in my schedule? So in a way, I was both slightly disappointed and extremely relieved. It's funny that, Philip, it seems like in Heavensward they were kinda messing around with voicing characters in dungeons. So you have this, and then you also have Mr. Schlobby. So what if I have 3 subs and 1 is my mom? I mean, the reason why I was specifically thinking about Cider and Renan is because I had approximately the same amount of subscribers as them. Actually, I believe I had more than Renan. I was like, bruh. But it doesn't matter, right? Whatever. Like, to be honest, Renan was probably a better pick if they had to choose between me or Renan. So it, like, as I said, for me it was like, oh. Forgetting Mr. Sickness must be purged. Oh yeah, him too. I will not yield to you. Arian, hope you're doing well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not particularly worried about that. But if I were invited, I would probably be mainly concerned about checking, like, testing jobs. Seeing how they work. I might even be a little more focused on how, like, if let's say a new job comes out, I'd probably be a lot more concentrated on, like, well, how does it work when you sink down? Because I feel like that's something people often overlook. And then I'm sitting there, like, on the things they found. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just have to figure it out on the fly. Because you didn't check. Thanks for that, by the way. Should try to solo the preview dungeon. That would be pretty funny. You just spent all the time you have being like, hey, did you know that warrior can solo the new dungeon synced? Wow, that would be funny. That would be so funny. Hey, FFXIV, hope you're doing well. If I remember correctly, Zeno did the thing where he did 3 DPS, 1 tank on the preview dungeon. Which, I mean, still funny. And also, yeah, the like, I mean, the synced down part is not necessarily the most important bit, but let's be real here. If the sync down part sucks, then like the majority of players are going to, like, if they play that job, they're going to regularly have to deal with that. Which kind of sucks, right? So it matters. It might not matter, like, supremely much, but it has to be decent. Hey, Orkney, hope you're doing well. It's been a bit. The thing is, Arian, I believe the reason why it became a big deal is because the whole healer strike thing was happening, I believe, around the time where it came out that Zeno had done the new dungeon with no healer. Like, it doesn't really matter, but it mattered to some. Hey Shaq, hope you're doing well. But I don't know, I that would probably be like the things that I would be looking at. I think if I was invited, if I had any ability to, I would probably, like, if there wasn't like, oh, you can't say that. I would probably, like, ask the community, which is you guys, like, what should, like, if I had the opportunity to, like, ask a question or two to Yoshi P, for instance, what should I ask? So that I don't squander the opportunity. And, like, I just come in prepared with a list. It's also possible if I could see it coming, that it'd be like, hypothetically, if I was invited, what should I ask? Just in case, and like maybe a few days later, like you see that I completely stopped responding to that poll or whatever it was. Like I completely stopped talking about it, and like, oh, right. Hey Steve, hope you're doing well. Ask him when is Black Mage getting tank gear. Ask for monies. That's gonna be real awkward here. I'm like 90% sure that just full blast, full send AoE rotation on 2 is a game at this level. Yep. For Paladin specifically, just to be clear. Because Total Eclipse and Prominence is insane. Hey Mad Hatter, hope you're doing well, and yet has been a long time. Why Guildhests? Hey Dialia, hope you Dialia, hope you're doing well. Ask him why. Ain't nothing but a heartache. Now number 5.
Mortal scum.
Ask about the new submarine content. Uh-oh. Can we have guaranteed loot on max level dungeons? Oh, that would be good. What's your favorite Easter egg hidden in the new zones? I feel like that's a perfect one to just get told. Yeah, I can't tell you that. I'll be like over here, like, yeah. So he did answer every question, including this and this and this. However, I can't tell you what he said. I know that there was more to that, Mad Hatter, but I actually loved the way that it ended. Assuming that time wasn't a factor. What? Just what? Can you tell the community how to beat Ramu so I don't have to? Can you put Ramu Extreme in the MSQ or something so that we can get it over with? I meet him too often. He might as well be at this point. What's your favorite thing about Bachman? What is your favorite Guildhest? It's like, what do you mean? You know exactly what I mean. You know what I mean. You're better. Because you're forcing all these mentors to do Guildhests every day. Surely, there must be someone here who really likes Guildhests. Assuming time wasn't a factor and you played regularly enough to do most content, what sort of content would you want to do between patches? If your stats for dungeons, Guildhest, trials, etc., you need a category specific. Like, yeah, actually, in retrospect, I should have had like a counter of exactly, specifically under the armor and Ramu Extreme. That wasn't my fault. I was standing perfectly still. Why? Can we get an extreme roulette? That's also a good one. Come back here! I just used fight or flight! Don't flight on me! Hey Coney, hope you're doing well, and thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that. That's okay, Mad Hatter. I still think that your first iteration was really funny. Assuming time wasn't a factor and you played regularly enough to clear most content. What? Just like a really accusatory what? Oh. Wham! I love your roulettes online that Ramu tally is technically still possible. Yeah, true. I would also be able to just count every duty where I mention Ramu Extreme. Like from my manuscripts and such. It would just take a long time to count all of them. Reminder that just among the tally for the Dawntrail series, while I reached 1000 recently, the actual tally is over 800 duties still, and I would have to like just click through all of them and check. And I think sometimes I've had 2 Ramu Extremes in one set. Philip says, I do not expect to see any update to Coil unless some future MSQ edition ends up involving it and requiring it, like what happened to the Alliance raid. What's really interesting there is that there's a point in the Endwalker MSQ where they kind of imply that the coils have already been finished. So they kinda did that. Also, hey Lemon, hope you're doing well. Like, they kinda did that and just went, well, you don't have to do it. Fine. I will queue when it says 30. Oh boy! Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Are you ready? A really random question. What data center, sorry, what server is Hector from? Guys? Is Hector from Spriggan? Does anyone know? Because the Pictomancer in my group is called Hector Hectorson. So I think we have a a content creator clash. That does look like him, yes. He has the hair and everything. That's really funny. I'll queue when it says 12. Can it just show plate? Well, you should be able to see it at the start of the dude. You can rewind the stream. Oh, he's here again. Well then. I would find that extremely hilarious. He comes out to a Guildhest guy. I doubt that's why he's here. He has the correct mental crown to suggest he's doing Guildhest. He's doing mental reds as well. Hey, your daddy. Hope you're doing well. It might have been the exact same party, actually. No. The melee DPS is different. I actually did say thank you for the work before the duty ended. Do you get mental roulettes if you're a crafter mentor? Nope. You need to be a combat mentor to even unlock the mental roulette. I'll queue when it says 0-1. But given that we can see his, he has the sword crown, which is forced upon you when you queue mental roulette. He was forced in there just like me. Something is spamming this. What's going on here? What is going on here? It's the scholar. But this is a different healer. This is really weird. If this keeps going, this'll be the wackiest, most ridiculous mental roulette of all time. Like, we just have like the first half is perfectly normal. We start with an extreme or two, and then suddenly it just takes a turn. Oh, Cuban says 30. Hey, crab cake. Hope you're doing well. Nectar's here again. He just said, we have to stop meeting like this. I forgot my tank stance. I forgot my tank stance. Gonna have it now. That is Hector Brontome. It is actually Hector. He has... well, it might be an extremely good impersonator, but yeah, I believe he has the correct world, and he looks correct. I'll queue when it says 03. Oh boy. Oh no! I have questions. I don't know if there exist answers, but who would win, an entire community or one PvP spammer? It looks like there's more than one. I'm pretty sure there's more than one. Hey Deadman, hope you're doing well. You're welcome to place bets on that. Look, noticing that, like, take note, guys. The players that have a Mentor Crown and a sword, like on their like next to their name, means that there's like a 99% possibility that they are Mentor Roulette queuing. I'll queue when it says 31. So 3 players, and basically every single group, were Mentor Roulette queuing. The 4th one wasn't. Hey PH, hope you're doing well. Same to you, Deadman. Oh boy. Back now we can play the game again. What insanity! New duty just dropped. How did I miss that? Wait, hold. I don't know if I should pull more. Yeah, good. See, now there's the big brain, dead man. We didn't shake on it. Hey, Dark Phoenix. Hope you're doing well, and same to you, Jingo Jango. Yo, real content. Oh boy, the game finally plays again. That was absolutely crazy. It was as if the game just suddenly decided to have a like the weirdest aneurysm in history. Suddenly, the content creator clash, and also like multiple polling poison pauses. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh. Oh. Time bomb awesome 1-2 combo. Check this out. It's a weird day when you get excited for Halatali. Oh boy, a duty where I get to press something other than unleash. Not a lot other than unleash, but technically something other than unleash. Hey Cole, hope you're doing well. This looks epic. You know, Cole, what was even more epic was when we did pulling poison posses like 5 times in a row and over half of them was with Hector. Watch out on Tank Buster. Yes, like the guide guy. Can I do this? No. Ow. This is going to take a while. I'm just saying, I would find it super funny if you actually released like extremely overkill Guildhest guides. But yeah, I feel like he's a little early if that's the plan. Hey Bobblers, hope you're doing well. There's a time when he did a Cape Westwind video, that's true. Wasn't that an April Fool's one? Or was it just randomly there? I mean, at least you'll be able to put featuring Hector in the video. Nah, I wouldn't do that. I'll probably randomly mention in the chaos as like, okay, so guys, listen up. Suddenly this happened, and Hector's here too. Just to really underline the madness, but I wouldn't put it in the video title as if it's some sort of like that. That's not cool. That's not cool, man. I wouldn't do that. It's also possible he doesn't even know who I am. It's also possible he knows exactly who I am. Oh wait, that doesn't actually matter that much anymore. Poisonous Day in Mental Roulette. That's a good one. We will need color partners for this duty. You could actually use marker position, like fixed positions, approximately. Because the boss, I believe, puts the poison circles randomly on players, so you just spread out the party in 4 corners if you can. And turns out I knew the Pictomancer. Yeah. Following a markers used on EU, but NA may use these instead. Well, that's another good one. Hey! It's like ancient flare skip. Redmaster says, how hard are the Crystal Tower raids at minimum item level? Is Zarf in the chat? The reason I'm asking for Zarf is because Zarf has done I believe it was like a little bit of a mix, but no job crystals and also no right side gear. Yeah, exactly. So probably not that hard. But you get to see the mechanics. You also have to interact with the mechanics. Minimum item level with 12 people. Wow. Ding. Sword. Fantastic. Everyone goes to the same side. I'm just saying, I know it might be like, why does that matter so much? I don't think I have. I think one time I randomly landed in Aglaya back in like late Endwalker with Meoni or something like that in there. But I don't land in content with other content creators. Basically ever. So for me it's a little special in a way. And then it's the most cursed thing. You're playing on the quote-unquote dead data center too? Well, I mean, it's not as dead as you'd think. It's just that the party finder leaves a lot to be desired. That's true, Boblos. I was actually like, I'm just saying, if it had just kept going with pulling poison pauses over and over again, easy video. Like there was that time where I got like 27 Guildhests. Yeah, for duty 5 through 15 we got pulling poison pauses. But yeah, it is genuinely, at best, quote-unquote dead, because it's not dead. Not really. How many different pulling poison pauses pumps can you pull out of your pocket? See, the difficult thing there, Lemon, is that the pulling poison pauses is one of those where I get the least creative because I have no idea. You can optimize damage sometimes by using one twice in a row to avoid... That's true. That's true. That is correct. You see how long you can alliterate for? Maybe I'll just call it, like, I'll just do random alliterations. Just completely not unrelated. I'll say, Harry, hope you're doing well. I will queue when it says 50. I'm pretty good, Harry. I hope you're doing well as well. Bam, 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 bam. Dragoon very confused. No, they were commenting on my glam. Nice. Adversary blockades. You know, I was hoping they would run towards me. They didn't. Did you visit Bogman today yet? Yes, I have. I think we've gotten 1, maybe 2. But we got like 5 pulling poison posses for some reason. You know, the big hope here, guys, is that when I'm like doing the manuscript for the Mentor Roulette, I'll be looking at the footage and see you guys mention alliterations. I'll be like, I'll use that. Fantastic. Wasn't it wasn't it yesterday's video where we brought up Andy Bloss? Me here not even remembering what the duty's named. I'll Q when it says 48. Is it another Guildhest? Is it another Guildhest? I just want you all to remember for a moment that this set started with Rathalos Extreme, Ifrit Extreme, 1 Guildhest, and then Volker Zolmor. We also have a Tamtara and Af and Halatali. I don't know how it ended up like this. I don't know how this happened. Like suddenly we just took a wrong turn somewhere. I don't know what to tell you. We Uh-oh. Imagine if you wanted to use a GCD, but God said you're pacified. All the Guildhest enjoyers came home from work. I feel like this is unusual still. Like, I pretty frequently do mental roulettes on Tuesdays, and this is strange. Notice the following. That whole bit there at the end, I was holding aggro entirely by virtue of being the closest person to the enemies. I didn't even attack them. The only reason they stuck on me is because the healer didn't heal. Intentionally. I'll Q when it says 32. Oh, nice, Arian. How could they not flock to you? We're getting a real duty again. Yeah, okay, that is a real duty. Finally we get to play. Mega potion, mega potion. I'll pull 3 packs. I don't know what the healer can handle, so I don't do the full mega pull. We just do the halfway mark. That I feel is usually reasonable. Looking at what's happening here, I think it was a good call to stop halfway. They did use fizzes. I'm a little surprised there's no E-Diag. I'll say, little cat dog, hope you're doing well. Not so bad. Like that pull is really scary, and if it's your first, like, it might be one of their first Sage dungeons. Looking at the gear they were wearing, I'm pretty sure that's like like some of the standard issue stuff. No, come back! You must die! Dodge! Juked! What if the boss wanted to use tank busters, but you just sidestep them? Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be weird? Imagine if you could just say no. You just say no when the boss goes tank buster. You just step aside like no, no tank busters. Hey Lucas, hope you're doing well. A boss is stunnable at this level? Sometimes. And yeah, that's not me being cheeky. Sometimes they're stunnable. Oh boy. It's a good thing I brought potions. Just saying, it's really random. To put a little bit of an example on how random it is, if Freed Hard can be stunned. And so, yeah, it's also true. Dunscaith, Diabolos can be stunned. Except when he puts up his stun immunity buff. Because you need that for some reason. You're right, no one has positional, so it doesn't matter where I'm facing the boss. Oh. Whee! And, oh, wee! AMTL? Nope, you're doing well. You can stun one of the legs in A4N because when it's casting an attack, its stun immunity buff goes away for a small time. Huh. Huh. Isfeli says the thing is casting is meant to be stunned. That does explain why it is stunnable specifically in that moment. But also, a very weird design. And Teal says, I don't think, I have never seen anyone stun it before. Well, I mean, nowadays it doesn't matter, probably. And a lot of people just don't know that it's an option in the first place. I think there's a lot of those. Oh, do you stun a leg? Well, I want it to be known, Zarian, that most of the OGCD stuns, like both low blow and leg sweep, implies that the reason they get stunned is because you sweep their leg. They just like, oh. And that's the reason they get stunned. Whoops. I accidentally right-clicked off my shield, or my barrier there. Hopefully they don't take it personally. That was an accident. Or maybe they didn't even notice. Yeah, a lot of the time, there'll be some random quirk with a boss, and then, like, a few years later, like, when it hasn't been current for a while, people will be like, oh, yeah, this boss does this thing. And then, like, the people that actually played at the time are like, yeah, we know. It used to matter. How does leg sweep work on birds and sprites and such? That is a fantastic question. Maybe that's what stuns them. It's like, wait, how? Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, Cat, there's a possibility that people will be like, what do you mean at phase? In 7 years. I'll say it's good lose. Hope you're doing well. And congratulations, Red Master. Savage, some fights are still gimmicky. Yeah, but the thing is, Sugar Riot doesn't force you to sit through the ad phase. So in 7 years, when we're like at least like 2 expansions further down the road, if we're keeping up the scaling that we are now, Sugar Riot is possibly something that can be... You will probably need at least one other player, because you probably won't be able to solo skip the ad phase. But you can probably like just 4-man it and like smash it out real quick. And the reason why you'd need another person is because I don't think you can solo the Jabberwock. And because she can die before the ad phase, by that point the ad phase will be skipped. Anyway, I'll be right back. In the meantime, Manatee restored. Alright, I'm back. Hi Ardell, hope you're doing well. Let's go Warrior again. I'll queue when it says 55. Lucas, I think they're talking about Extreme. And also, there was actually someone before Wrath. that did it. Bruh. As ninja back in Endwalker. David, hope you're doing well. Can you tell me why tap targeting PvP sucks? I mean, largely speaking, all targeting in PvP kind of sucks. Yeah, indeed, what I'm saying is that someone did it before Wrath. But that was also normal. The problem, David, is basically that it doesn't really matter which kind of tap targeting you choose. I'm used to tap targeting the closest enemy, but in 14 cycles. The way that you can do that, you can still do that. This keybind, David, is what you need. Oh, Agent Monica was there. This is what you need. LQ when it says 40. You're welcome, David. I use both in PvP. Harry, knowing what Wrath has done before, I'm like 99% certain that he'll grab like, oh nice, 7 people. And they'll be there so that he can use tank LB. That's my guess. Because I don't see any other way to do it. Like the 7 other people will not do anything, they'll just be there. Aki's Ape, hope you're doing well. Yeah, I can also say a little detail on the Susano thing. Before he had barely started his solo run, I made a video explaining why Final Fantasy XIV cannot be soloed. And I quietly ignored that Crystal Tower requires an alliance raid, and then promptly went, but you can't solo Susano. And that was actually true in Endwalker. With the gear he had available, that would not have worked. But then a ninja showed that it was possible to do Susano in Endwalker, like full best in slot. It was possible. But you know, that's not very relevant for Wrath, is it? But I made that video before he had barely, when he was still very early in his journey. So I knew it was going to be a problem. But I specifically ignored Crystal Tower because that seemed like a cop-out. To be like, yeah, it can't be soloed because Crystal Tower mechanically requires you to have more people. Like, that's solvable. Like, that's solvable without, like, you know, an actual DPS check. It's just the game saying no. That's not very interesting. But I knew. Oh boy. There's also the detail that when I made that video, I had completely forgotten that Crystal Tower was a requirement. Something like that, Boblos. Basically, the tank busters hit hard enough that the tanks can absolutely get overwhelmed if they don't pay attention. And the DPS check there at the end, you saw we almost didn't make it. I'm gonna queue when it says 32. 33. But it kind of falls in like a category where it's too hard to be a regular trial, but it's too easy to be considered an extreme. I guess. I don't think I've ever been Odin myself. And that's unfortunate, Kise, but good it's getting better. I'm doing alright myself. Oh boy! Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yep, that's correct, Naomi. I decided let's just spam as tank. Maybe next time we'll spam as healer. But that is what's happening tonight. It's just cycling tanks. Oh, he wants the boss too. Sure, let's go. Why not? I pulled everything. Oh boy. Well, I have to AoE now. Ah. The healer had the audacity to cast a healing spell, so now I need to spam to make sure they don't get smacked. I'll queue when it says 21. 21. Like basically, in regards to Odin, it's like when you have a team where most people like kind of know what they're doing, it's like why is this not in Trial Roulette? Like, why? But let me put it like this. I've gotten enough groups with strangers where you know why. You know why it's not in Trial Roulette. And while there are like duties with DPS checks technically in roulettes, they generally don't have so strict DPS checks as Odin's. I believe this is duty number 20, Silly. Huh? Did you... Hello? Huh? He left the oven on. Like, you know what? I can't be bothered with it. If you're going to pull that many at once, then I don't feel like my presence is important. I feel like you're not like appreciating my presence. I'm just saying. I'm gonna queue when it says 3. Also that, Coils is actually considered like about around Savage tier. But yeah, Odin is specifically in a difficulty range where it is a problem if like you don't have a decent team. It's just exactly easy enough that when you do have a decent team. Ooh. Hey Dragon Knight and Fern, hope you're doing well. Now we get back to content. What would the second Coil Savage be then? I believe the reason for that one is that I believe there's a story there, but I believe part of it is that they made it a little easier there, and then was like, let's try this other thing. Like basically, Coils was in a time where they were testing things, so like the Savage version is there because like they're like figuring out what they wanted. But it does look weird to be like, yeah, Coils is Savage. Also, so there's an actual Savage and a normal. So which one is it? Like I see it. It's like a side grade. Well, in this case, it's actually like a harder difficulty. It's just that the second tier was slightly easier, so there was space for Savage. Daring today, aren't we? But just in general, like a lot of A Realm Reborn content is like, why did they do it like that? And the answer is they were testing something. Like, Odin is technically also that in a way, probably. I'll pull down to there. I don't think I should do the full super mega pull. I'm pretty sure that the healer is a first timer. Pretty sure, not 100%, but pretty sure. Oh right, that patrol guy. But it is really random with these kinds of sets, where there's like a random like huge swaths of, and then there's a Guildhest and a Guildhest and a Guildhest and a Guildhest. But it is going to, whatever happens, look really funny at the start of the video. Like, oh yeah, we did, like 30 duties. Like, what? And for duty 1, we have Rathalos Extreme. Like, how long did this take? And then you hit the halfway point and it's like, oh yeah, pulling poison pauses, pulling poison pauses, pulling poison pauses, pulling poison pauses. That's going to be really funny. Hey Tempo, hope you're doing well. Mostly get dungeons. Yeah. Usually the same for me when I go as healer. Based on what we've gotten tonight, that's also mostly true for tank. Hey Tiana, thank you so much. Hope you're doing well. Is tank Guildhest is 10% of my roulettes. I'm just saying that I'm not the only one that can report that that my average with like a variety of roles is over 30% Guildhests. So if your average is below 10%, that's impressive. Or lucky, I guess. The way that there was like the episode yesterday where like the way that I went about it on stream was that I specifically queued as DPS. And then if I didn't get anything within like a minute, maybe 2 minutes, I would just cancel and switch to a support. Part of the reason was, and that's also why the headline of that set was speedrunning, is that my experience tells me that if you're queuing as DPS and you get a reasonably quick queue, then it's a Guildhest. So, in the pursuit of trying to specifically make the magic happen of getting Guildhests, which would be the fastest way to get 27 duties, I would specifically try to like fish them out. It didn't always work, but that was why I did it the way that I did. Because my experience tells me that. But sometimes that doesn't work. Like sometimes it'll just not be like that. How hard is Rathalos Extreme compared to other extremes? It's not that hard. The problem is that you can play perfectly and still lose. Because the failure point is Rathalos getting 3 kills. And it doesn't matter who. It could be the same person 3 times. And you can't prevent it by being like, well, I'll just not rest them. Because in that specific extreme, the way you're meant to get back up is just click the respawn button. So people, like the bad player will just come back again and again, and then you'll lose. Just like in Monster Hunter. They're really true to the source material there. And to be fair on the stun locking part, Necrophits, technically, Rathalos can't do it without your inaction first. Because the only attacks that Rathalos has that can stop you in your tracks are all avoidable. So technically he can stun lock you to death, but you have to fail first. But there's also the part that if he just randomly chooses to target you over and over and over and over again for the spread marker, or sorry, the stack marker, you might just run out of potions. I did have a Rathalos Extreme run where he targeted me 3 separate times, so I was down to 1 potion. And then he happened to die at that point. Like, if he had randomly chosen me again, I would have needed people to stack with me, and even that might not have been enough. So like, he's not that hard. The problem is that take a duty like Ramu Extreme. If like half of your raid is like turbo garbage, there might be a way around it, because Ramu Extreme is beatable with 3 players. We've done it with 2 tanks and a healer. I don't remember Rust. I usually don't die in that fight. I don't think that was me, Tembo, but it might have been. I certainly don't remember, at least. Thank you, Philip. Apparently they don't come back. But with Ramu Extreme, if like half your party are like deadbeats and absolutely not helpful, if you can just get them to die, and then you just don't rest them, then 4 players can do the fight, no problem. And the reason why you specifically need them to die is because the more, like, there are mechanics that target whoever's on the field. Like, so their being deadbeats alive will be in the way. Now, if I recall correctly, when we did it on Extreme Countdown, we specifically experienced that it felt like Ramu became easier as we scaled down to like 6 players, and then at like 5, it started to reach a point where the player count started to cause a visible like increase in challenge. I think this should work. We also had the same with the Ultima weapon, where 8-man was a little scary because the speed at which the mechanics with HP thresholds came out meant that it was just like barfing of boss mechanics. And then when we went down to like 5 players, it was suddenly very chill. You actually had time to do each mechanic before the next one came out the door. But yeah, specifically with Rathalos Extreme, it's easy if everyone knows what they're doing, and it is one of the most manageable ones. It's just, there's a lot of personal responsibility. So, long story short, like, it all comes down to how good your team is. But like, come to think of it, I'm pretty sure I've never seen a Rathalos Extreme that didn't succeed in Mental Roulette. We've had wipes, sure, but I'm pretty sure I haven't been in one where we like actually failed to complete it in time. I have also had cases where someone left on site. I'm just pretty sure that we got a replacement there and then just went for it anyways. And like I believe the ones that I have the largest count of fails in is, oh. Cutscene viewer. Oh, nice dancer. That's annoying, Taldemar. You can 3 men if someone left anyway. Yeah, but I believe it was the tank that left. And you might say, yeah, but the Rathalos can't be tanked. No, but Garula can. And Garula will kill your DPS. Yes, you can do it without a tank, but that requires you to actually be really good. And let's just say, when I say it's doable and it's pretty fine, just remember that you have to, like, assume that no one's really good. But I believe my high, like the most failed duties is Ramu Extreme, and I think Nidhogg and Sephiroth. But between those, the failed Ramu Extremes are groups that didn't actually get to start. As in, it wasn't actually like us trying and then we didn't get to beat it. And in the case of Nidhogg, I believe all of the failed Nidhogg Extremes are in one Mentor Roulette video. It was the one where I was Machinist. And there was this I think there was a light party just trying to do it in Duty Finder for some reason. And when anyone left, they would all immediately just scoop. Like, bruh. And that was 2 failed duties just like that. I think there's also, yeah, I don't think it's counted in the Dawntrail series. But in a really funny twist, back in Endwalker, I had a failed Thordan Extreme, of course, and a succeeded Zorvan Extreme. But yeah, the reason Sephiroth is high up as well is simply because it is actually hard. I think I also have a failed Zorvan while we're on the topic. But among those 8 failed ones in the tally, Ramu, I believe, is the one with the most representation. But that's, you know, that's not an entirely fair comparison. Ramu is also the extreme with the most representation altogether, right? Harry says Sophia's hard to on scales mechanics. I think I've only gotten Sophia once. And that one took 40 minutes. Okay, hope you're doing well. I will queue when it says 40. Yeah, like that's a thing to keep in mind when I'm saying like what duties fail the most is like which ones am I getting a lot. The reason I'm like Rathalos Extreme is not hard is because I get it somewhat frequently. And it basically never fails. And I think a lot of mentors are getting that specific one quite frequently. Oh, Under the Armor, fantastic. And Fern is here. And because a lot of mentors are getting it quite frequently, a lot of them are pretty confident in their ability to do it. So as long as they see like one or two other players that seem to have their head on straight, it's like, oh, easy. Could be worse. Like a sub 10-minute duty. Boom jams. I will queue when it says 1. Back to the armory. I would also add to the I was saying mouse. Hope you're doing well. Bruh. I would also add to the Thorn Magic stream. I do believe I have one failed Thorn Magic stream. Oh, Naya is here again. Is that the one Thorn Magic stream I have where we actually failed? I landed in the duty when there was like 15 minutes left. Some of you might remember it because I do believe I mentioned it in the voiceover that it's like on the last pull, like when there was only time for one more pull, one of the DPS basically indicated that they had no idea what the fight was. Like they had just been randomly guessing the entire time. I'll queue when it says 24. And that's just like, that's not happening. Not on Thornmarsh. You know, it's funny. With the Guildhest jail one from way back, the reason why we got like 30 duties in, like, I usually record in like 3-hour sessions. The reason why we managed to get only 30 duties with that many Guildhests is because queue times. Here, we're getting, like, we're closing in on 30 now. And we had time to do all sorts of stuff tonight. Harry says, that's why I explain streams before we pull. Yeah, see, the thing is, Harry, I got in when there was 15 minutes left on the clock. And it is perfectly possible that the other mentors that were there had explained it. But the genius that didn't seem to get it also seemed to be pretty absent-minded. So it's very possible that they just weren't paying attention. And then when the fight turned out to be actually hard, they didn't dare ask, can you explain it again? I'll queue when it says 4. Or 54. And also that, Raging Bull, that's also a classic. You go Should we talk tactics, or should we just give it a go? And then, like, one of the sprout tanks just go for it. And you're like, oh. Which is also the reason why, like, sometimes people go, can we give it a go first? And then we do that. And I have had cases where people give it a go, and then everyone just manages to kind of wing it, or it turns out everyone kind of knew. But I always offer to explain, and after each wipe, I usually try to explain what went wrong. I'm Q when it says 5 or 15. Harry says my first extreme was Mog. I think my first extreme in Mentor Roulette ever was Sephiroth. And I tried hard to make the group do it, but we just didn't. Cases, I once called out a person in Say chat. Turns out they apparently didn't read party chat, but they noticed when I called them out and asked what was up. Oh boy. Yeah, that one is also a problem. Some players are just not reading chat. Not much you can do there. They can spam all they want. They don't get to have any of my recommendations. I'm like one of the deterrents for commendation farmers. IQ's at 37. Deadman says, hopefully with the advent of chat bubbles, that's less of an issue. Unfortunately, chat bubbles are opt-in, not opt-out. Which means if you don't know they exist, you don't know to turn them on. Oh, man. How many of these do you think are farming commendations, and how many do you think are just trying to do the Guildhest for their challenge log? And how many of them are doing it for the 200 Guildhest achievement? And Agent Monica's here. Ba, 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 ba. I'll queue when it says 58. I'm just saying, if you have any plans ever of getting the Mentor Roulette achievement, then don't bother actively going out of your way to get the 200 Guildhest achievement. Because you will get the Guildhest achievement before you finish the Mentor Roulette achievement. Also, hey, Brian and S-Talker, hope you're doing well. What's the record for maximum number of Guildhests in a row? On this channel, I think it's 27. I'm about to go into a duty, but can anyone explain to Brian how to turn on the chat bubbles? Interesting. And Fern is here. Should be an easy one. It can be. It can also be really hard. Not sure what he provoked for, but enjoy that, I guess. I think he's going to die. The other tank is provoke spamming. Now I provoke because the staff is blunt damage. Oh boy, that's not an optimal positioning for me. Eh. The big explaining. Enjoy, Kay. Waiting for the astrologian. Thank you, Philip. And enjoy your evening. Single target Dalton. Single target Dalton. Is there a way they can goof up their mudra so that single target Dalton is the best option? Oh yes, absolutely. Like if a button doesn't go out properly, then absolutely that can happen. Uh-oh. That's really bad. There it is. Oh, they survive. Fantastic. This is also the reason why you move her out to the edge for the bow phase. Because then someone just naturally being nearby just won't die from that. And yeah, that was extremely lucky that you just so happened to be staring into the wall. That's the hard one. Oh, stand still. Oh no. Ugh. I believe that's a knockback. Nope, that's a donut. But I believe she does a knockback next. Yep. Yeah, I should have not gone over to help the bot. I should have just stayed away because of the Glacier Bash. But to be fair, I took it too. Like, I didn't just go, get owned, mate. A guys ago. And then always says I can never remember when to share a tank boss and when to solo it. For Shiva on hard, the initial cleave is a tank buster. On extreme, it's a stack. And you're not supposed to just share it with the other tank. You are supposed to share it with the entire team. Although I believe both tanks can take it, like just them two. Just keep in mind, fun fact, the cone stack from the initial hit when she switches to Sword and Shield ignores all mitigation and can hit through invuln. The only thing that counts is barriers. Which does mean that a scholar with a big fat crit barrier can be the only one you share it with. You think the animation of the frozen floor baits people? You kind of see a safe spot in the middle. Yeah. The thing is, that didn't cause us any real problems on the first pull, so I didn't even mention it. But usually, that's one of the things that I mention is like, oh, by the way, when you see like wind on the floor, stop moving. Just wait. She will not do anything that requires you to move before the ice floor disappears. So just stop and wait. But the party specifically asked to just give it a go and then, you know, review things that go wrong, so I only explained the things that went wrong. But yeah, the ways that you could end up in a position where single target Doton happens to be optimal is if you're trying to do Suiton and then you press a little too fast and the chi doesn't go through. Oh, well. Then you would get a 10 Jin, and at that point a Doton is still better than a Hyoton. Another option is if you prefer... Well, actually, is there any other option? On single target, you wouldn't do Huton for any reason, at least not anymore. So I think that's basically it. Maybe if you accidentally like misclick, like you accidentally press G10, like Jin 10, and like you can turn a Katon into a Doton. But at that point it's like, yeah, well, whereas like then we're trying to assume that you're going to like actively goof it up, right? Like you're not even pressing the correct button. But that would be the way, is if you miss chi when you're supposed to hit chi, then Dotson is better than basically any other option. Like, if you have two things going and your only option is to press chi or not, then Dotson is competing with Katon or Hyoton. And on single target, Dotson is better than both. Although, like, if the boss is going to move, then Katon might be better. Burn says the tank was also using arm's length immediately, like on pull? That's pretty funny. I mean, I was only paying attention to the fact that they were using, like, they were spamming provoke, so I told them not to do that. And then on the second pull, I don't know if you noticed, Fern, maybe some people in the chat noticed. I made a point of making sure that I got, like, a big meaty lead with damage. I didn't provoke, I just skill issued, made sure that I was the main tank. And then when I started to get a little too far ahead, I turned off my tank stance to make sure that the other tank was in range, so I could just shirk them when I needed them to take over. And then I just forced them to tank when I needed it. Don't need to teach them how to do it. Just do it for them. On the one hand, I could have just taught them what they needed to do. On the other hand, it did seem like it was... like, their skill level was to the point where, like, I had to teach them not to spam provoke. Like, we'll take the how do you properly tank swap on a different day. Someone else will teach them that. But that was 28 duties. Let me just count what we have here. 4 extremes, including the Odin one, because technically we count it as an extreme. And then 5 leveling dungeons. Hey, Avocado. Hope you're doing well. And 1 high-level dungeon as ARF. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 Guildhests. So we got 10 duties and then 18 Guildhests. And among those 18 Guildhests, like a third is under the armor and a third is pulling poison posses for some reason. Still not the record beater. Yeah, I'm just saying, the record, which I believe was 27 Guildhests. 27 or 28. The reason why that one got so many, but in total was like 30 duties, was because it was machinist. Which meant that the queue was longer. But because we're doing it as tank only tonight, we basically queued for like at most 10 seconds at any point. It's like every time we had a long duty, because like an extreme or something, and when I say long, like, let's not kid ourselves here. The extremes we had were all shorter than the Kitana Ravel. Hey, Nightly Valor, hope you're doing well. Like, just Just consider that for a moment, guys. If you're a mentor and you kind of know how to do extremes, you can actually sometimes do duties faster than someone who's like, nope, I'm not doing extremes. All you need is to beat the duty in like 3 polls. Then it'll be faster than like a reasonably high level dungeon. Isa says the record was 28. Fair enough. I couldn't remember it was 27 or 28. But yeah, the reason why that one, I believe it was like... I think it was like we got Midgardsormr or something, and then we got Wicked Thunder when Wicked Thunder was still current, and then it was just 28 Guildhests in a row. There was nothing else. And this time we had a little bit of a mix. But the only reason why we could manage to do that much in 3 hours, because the 30 for Machinist was also in 3 hours, I believe. Something like that. It's simply because we didn't have any wait time. Dear Leia says, really puts things into perspective. You beat Shiva before you finished Skydeep Chenalty, and our DPS was phenomenal. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, I would say, like, your average dungeon is going to, like, with, like, complete mixed bag of players, is going to be, like, 14 or 15 minutes. And most of the extremes you're going to get in Mental Roulette are going to be, if you can beat it first try, 5 minutes. And then you add tactics time, and then you add wipes. But you can beat most of them in 5 minutes. If you know what you're doing. The problem is that there's going to be a random number of players that don't know what they're doing. And your damage output, like the party at large, is generally not going to have, as you put it, phenomenal damage in these extremes, because if they knew what they were doing, there's a much smaller probability, much smaller chance that they would be queuing for an extreme from A Realm Reborn. Because they would probably have looked up a guide, and then they might have seen on the console games wiki the big warning label saying, you should probably not queue for this. Go in Party Finder. So that's usually how it goes, is that if, like, and I'm just saying this as someone who doesn't leave extremes, right? I don't leave. We try, and we usually succeed. I say this as a person like that the main reason why it is quote-unquote a problem that people queue for A Realm Reborn extremes, and I'm putting that in quotes, a problem, is because the average person who is queuing for them might actually not have any business queuing for them. If that makes any sense. Like, they should probably not be doing extremes. They should be working on the basics still. But you can make it work. And this is also like that Shiva extreme run. I believe last week we had someone that came in that was very worried, and they felt like they needed to know all the extremes before they felt comfortable doing Mental Roulette. So I said, don't do that. Most of them won't appear, and you'll figure it out when you get there. That's also fine. If you had learned Shiva Extreme in a pre-made, it's possible you could have been like, just solo tank it. It's easier that way. Shiva doesn't do enough damage to justify you needing 2 tanks. You might also 2 tank, you know, to get it right. But you wouldn't be equipped to deal with a co-tank that doesn't know how to tank switch. Quantum says, but I'd also imagine those players not playing the AI extremes would mean that the content is probably going to be dead more often than not. What do you mean? Like, it's not popping at all? Or what do you mean? How often do you get extremes from Stormblood and beyond? Rathalos extreme, which is technically from Stormblood, I get like semi-frequently. Like sometimes I'll get it multiple times in one session. It's pretty normal that I'll get like Rathalos extreme like once every few weeks, maybe twice. Aside from that, I have seen Susano extreme once. That's it. All other extremes I've seen has been at most Heavensward. However, I have seen all of them at least once. And I've also cleared all of them at least once. Hey Traxxas, hope you're doing well. This is another thing with AI extremes and some Heavensward even is that they're quest things. Yeah, exactly. That's usually what causes people to queue for them. Sometimes that's because the only people who would queue would be the ones who are just to that point. Yeah. And like that's also true, is that the reason why this happens is because the people that are queuing for these don't know better, and they are also at that point. Like, they were just given this duty. So they queued for it. Which of course also lowers this, like, the expected skill level. Also, hey Lullaby, hope you're doing well. Because when I was new, I just queued for the AI extremes because I had no idea what extremes were. They were simply blue quests given by Urianger along with other blue MSQ-related trials. Exactly. And I'm not saying that you're wrong for doing that. When I got into the game, my first experience with extreme trials was me going, well, I have this quest to clear Ultima Weapon Extreme. Well, it's a quest, let me try and queue for it. I have nothing better to do. Like, I sat in queue for over 30 minutes, like, that's a little weird. And when we finally got in, I'm just saying, back then it was a little harder, but we pulled like 2 or 3 times and then people left. And I was like, err. And then I didn't queue for extremes ever again. But, you know, it requires that you go in and learn, oh, this is what they mean by extreme. So either you haven't queued for one before, or alternatively, you haven't failed to complete it, or you haven't looked it up and been told not to. But yeah, I would say if you're preparing to be like Mentor Roulette Master, you can, you know, prepare yourself by knowing how the A Realm Reborn extremes work, about how the Heavensward extremes work. Just keep in mind, I'm just saying, I'm telling you right now, a little bit of a warning, and also a little bit of a save yourself from not wasting your time. If you go out of your way to learn every single Heavensward extreme front to back by, you know, like reading and watching guides and all that, so that you're certain that you know, they will appear in your Mentor Roulette at the earliest when you have forgotten. So don't waste your time. And I've heard some be like, I would really like to clear each one of them synced so I know what I'm getting into. One clear is not going to do that. And again, and this is like kind of harkening back to what I said a little bit ago, having beaten Shiva Extreme synced once will not equip you to deal with whatever you will happen to get when you land in Shiva Extreme. I have beaten Shiva Extreme with a healer that basically just spammed Medica 2 until they were out of MP. And then they waited until they had MP and then they used Medica 2 again. I've done that. you will not learn to be equipped for that by doing Tiva Extreme like Party Finder or something to like learn it. So exactly as Agent Monica says, when you land in an extreme that you don't know, and I think I said this last week as well, I'll say it as many times as it takes, when you land in an extreme you don't know, my approach is, if I land somewhere where I do know, I'll be like, should we talk, as you see in the chat bubbles, I'll be like, should we talk tactics or just give it a go? Sometimes people are like, I would like to know. And sometimes people are like, let's give it a go. And sometimes someone just silently pulls. If I don't know, I'll be like, oh, I haven't actually done this one before, or I can't quite remember. Can someone else enlighten me? Or like, does someone else know what to do? Like, I'll invite someone else to explain it. And either you get an answer, you get someone going, yeah, I know, let me explain. And then easy peasy, you just listen to them and follow their lead. Or you get someone going, I actually don't know either. And then you at least know that they don't know either. Or you get complete silence. But at that point, that's when you look it up. Just look up what's actually important. And you get, like, by doing this, you also get better at doing this. Like, you might be thinking, oh, but I don't want to waste people's time, like, sifting through a guide for 5 minutes. Understandable, but if you actually practice it, you get better at doing it quickly. You'll be better at, like glossing over the guide and be like, that's a raid white, that's a raid white, that doesn't matter, that doesn't matter. Oh, this is special, this is important. And then you focus on that. Like, you'll learn what parts matter and what parts don't matter, and then you will eventually get so good at it that you will not take 5 minutes. You'll take 4 or 3 or 2 minutes. And even then, it's probably better than going in completely blind sometimes. And other times just pulling and then seeing what happens and then, like, dissecting it can also work. But genuinely, all this is relevant. If you want to be like the good mentor, one might say, just try your best. If someone pulls suddenly, then that's your opportunity to see if you can figure out how the fight works by guessing or just looking. And that's ultimately all you need. Like, if you can figure that out. And that is also a skill you will not get to practice if every fight you watch a guide on it. But it is a skill you could teach, and the good mentor can teach a lot of stuff. You can teach people how to handle going into duty you don't know. Because you're basically like, if you go in and like, you're like, does anyone know how this fight works? And no one says a word, you'll be like, okay, I'll look it up. And then like, you'll start explaining what you can find. At that moment, and just to be clear, mentoring is complicated and there's not a clear answer to what's right. But at that moment, you're basically teaching these other players, this is what you do when you land in a duty you don't know the fight for. Like, you don't know the mechanics. Look it up and explain it. What if I only have one monitor and play the game full screen? I mean, you have a phone, right? Look it up on your phone. Yannick says Alt Tab exists. Yeah, but if you're playing it in full screen, it'll take an eternity to open and close, probably. Telmas is still waiting on the Caetsu Chaiji TLDR guide to AR extremes. Oh yeah, I did mention that I had been working on that. I'll have you know, Taldemar, that the way that went on was that I started on it, and then I realized that I had like, I think like 700 words in the manuscript, and I was still explaining Ifrit. You divide that number by 180, that's approximately the pace, plus minus a couple minutes, of minutes that it would take. So a TLDR 4-5 minute Ifrit guide, that's not a TLDR 4-5 minute extreme guide. I'm pretty sure that the actual the actual extreme Ifrit guide would be 4 or 5 minutes. Necrofit says the only extreme I fully explain is the Good King, because that fight is a terrible blind experience, while people often take multiple pulls even when they understand. For me, if I landed in Thorn March and people asked for explanation, I would explain, don't kill any of them, make sure they go like low, then when one of them dies, give it all you've got until they heal back up. Then I would probably explain that the tanks need to tank swap and what they need to tank. And then the rest is like, if we wipe as a result of a mechanic, we'll take that when we get there. The probability that there is at least one other guy that knows, oh, when this happens, you have to do this, so I'll just do it, is very high. And sometimes not explaining it is actually more effective. For instance, the Black Mage Moogle, if it starts casting Meteor, I think, you need to hit it a few times to stop it. If you explain that to everyone, then what's possible to happen is that it starts casting and then it just dies. Because everyone goes, alright, hit it a few times. But if you don't explain it and you just quietly do it, then you won't run into that problem. I do the same with Ramu Extreme, actually, Velis. Is that I typically accidentally forget to mention that the blue circle AoE's damage scales with the amount of orbs on the field. Because that way I know for certain that everyone else will only grab the orbs by accident or when they need to. And then I'll make sure to manage how many orbs are on the field. Or maybe there's another mentor that knows too, but they know that I know that they know that I know. So we will play around each other. They'll probably also know that I deliberately forgot to mention it. Because they'll see that I'm actively managing it, but I didn't say anything about it. But yeah, that is a good one, Taldemar. I'll try to remember it. Agent Monica says, I just thought the only thing that the Ward Up Guild has sort of prepares you for is Thorn March Extreme. Yeah, in a way. But if they know that I know that they know that I know that they know that I know that they know, then that's fine. That's okay. Yeah, it's something like that, Velis. And that's usually also how I do it. I put down an A marker and a B marker and say, tanks, tank the boss over there. If you get the fear reticle, go over there. Velis says healer, if you get tethered to someone, get surge buff. I'm just gonna mention real quick, Velis, that anyone can get the tether. Any pair. So be careful with being too specific. And I'm saying that as someone who recently did Ramu Extreme as dancer and was tethered to a summoner. So be careful with being too specific. Hey Baron, hope you're doing well. But yeah, like the things you need to know if I'm a Ramu Extreme is the tank switch, how to deal with the tether, how to deal with the fear. I think that's it. The problem is that you have to sometimes really spell it out how to tank switch. Like, I'm not joking, Villas. The thing that often takes the longest is making sure that both tanks understand how to get the surge buff. And to not, like, keep grabbing orbs after that. It's not even the provoke thing, Villas. It's specifically people not grabbing orbs. Like, I've had a tank be told, get the buff. You need to grab 3 orbs. They go, okay, grabs 1 orb, and then they die. To the tank buster because they didn't grab 3 orbs. I've also experienced cases where you're like, you need 3 orbs to tank the tank buster. Only for both tanks to grab 2 orbs, and there's 4 orbs at the start, I believe. And then you're like, well... I'm actually pretty sure, just while we're on the topic, Taldemar said still waiting for the Caetsu Chaiji TLDR AI Extreme Guide. If I ever make that one and release it, I'm like 99% certain that the comments will include someone going, I just have a macro that instantly explains the fight. And I have, like, I believe when I landed in Thornmarch Extreme this one time, like, we zoned in, and then one of the tanks just went blurb and explained the entire fight, like that, because they had a macro. Nothing wrong with that, but it's like, if you know what to do, you might not need to explain all that, and you might not need to explain it at frame 1. But yeah, there's a lot of things that can be misunderstood. And let's just say that to really truly understand what can be misunderstood, you need to see it happen. Like, I have a lot of guides where I'm like, I'm pretty sure everyone understands this. And then there's like several comments that are like basically demonstrating that no, they don't actually. Certainly says a macro can easily just make people ignore you if the macro's too long. That's also true. Hey Rajin, hope you're doing well. And that's a good point, Taldemar. Part of the reason why I could imagine people are like, I just use a macro is because, like, I mean, the TLDR version is like perhaps mainly targeted at mentors, right? Oh, you have found yourself in Ifrit Extreme and you don't know what to do. Here's the quick rundown. This, and this. Now explain it for your party. Itki says, I once had someone spit out a macro in Thornton and then refused to explain anything about it when Sprouts had questions. That has a strong, I don't know what I said either energy. I don't remember. But yeah, that could be fun. Making that TLD. I think there's also the concern that maybe it'll be lost in the sea of videos because people don't, like, they would click it when they need it. Maybe it would work. that macros probably just copy paste from the console wiki. That would be even worse because sometimes like some of the A Realm Reborn extremes, I'm pretty sure like there's actually like anecdotes that are like, I'm pretty sure it does this, like as actual text. Like, I'm pretty sure it works like this. And sometimes just like a name, arrow, name, arrow, name, arrow, name of mechanics without ever explaining what those are. Make custom version of a macro adjusted to my liking, and when someone questions it, say it's in the macro, so it must be correct. Yeah, I mean it specifically says here that that you have to avoid the black mage, because if there's a black mage, then for some reason you just stay away from them so that they can do damage. Incidentally, you happen to be the black mage. Hey, Volvian, hope you're doing well. Exactly. Plenty of it is written like a diary. It is quite funny because sometimes you get like some sort of like surprise that, oh, they actually did the mechanic like that because they noted that it like that's something you can do. Poplar says, if I recall correctly, one of them referenced a fight in the vault or something, which had been reworked to not use that mechanic anymore. It's just like in the vault, you know. No, I don't, actually. Explain it. Yeah, that is a good point. That is a good point. And that could make a TLDR really good. It's good, Boblos. I'm just saying, it's not even like I'm like, the console game's really bad. They haven't maintained these old pages. It's more like, watch out. Like, actually read what you're sending before you send it. Like, some people make the whole meme about like, oh yeah, teacher said that you can't source Wikipedia because it's not a reliable source. Meanwhile, Wikipedia is actually pretty reliable and it shows its own source. It's actually one of the more reliable sources. But the real reason why the teacher said, no, you can't just cite Wikipedia is because the way you would do it is copy, paste, boom. And then not read it. And then be like, yeah, that cited Wikipedia. And then the teacher would be like, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And you're like, oh. So by saying, no, you can't, you have to cite something else. Then there's a better chance that you're not just going to copy paste it. And that applies to everything. Like, actually read what you're sending. That's why you always take the source from the footnote instead. Exactly, Rumble and Necrofits. Exactly. But yeah, the key here is there, Kay, that at least you actually read it. So same thing applies for boss guides. Actually read it, make sure that you understood it. And don't just copy paste it as a macro. Anyway, 28 duty. Like, it's actually insane. It feels like it's almost more each time. Last week was 21. There's a heavier and heavier concentration of Guildhests. But it was quite a journey. We started with a few extremes, a leveling dungeon, and then like just suddenly, and actually another leveling dungeon and a high level dungeon. Like we actually got off in this set, and then suddenly things happened. Wasn't it 27? Yeah, exactly, Agent Monica. It was 27 with the 6-hour stream. And by the way, this was like, we finished the Shiva Extreme exactly on the dot. So yeah. It's pretty funny how when you need the Guildhests, they're not appearing. But when you don't care, there you go. Oh yeah, and also that, we ran into Hector. Speaking of boss guides. We actually ran into Hector like 3 times in quick succession. Anyway, if you did enjoy this stream, it does help me a lot if you leave a like on it here on YouTube. You know, tell the algorithm you'd like other people to enjoy it as well. And you enjoyed it. So thank you so much in advance. And if you'd like to be part of the Discord community server, there's a link to that in the chat. There you will find the weekly schedule where you can see what else is coming up in the coming days. I usually update it Sunday and Monday. You'll also find the announcement room with links to videos and streams when I put them out. And if you grab the reminder roll in the role assignments room, you get a notification whenever I post a video or stream, as well as an extra one around 15 minutes before stream starts, so you can catch it right when we go live. And if you'd like to support the channel even more directly, you can become a member of the channel, you can gift memberships, you can use the super chat system, or if you don't like any of that, there's also a Ko-Fi link in the description. It all helps support me in the channel directly, so I can focus on doing stuff like this. And maybe stuff like a TLDR Mentor a Realm Reborn Extreme video. With all of you. So that stuff you can enjoy. So thank you so much for also thank you so much for celebrating 18 months as part of the Cult of the Pink Bronto. Thank you so much. But that'll be it from me. So, good night. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where in the world, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye-bye!